Hello and welcome to another fireside chat here at PetGroomer.com. I am Stephen, webmaster for PetGroomer.com and a 20-year veteran management consultant, doing most of that work out of Grooming Business in a Box.com. For this chat, we're going to keep it simple, but it is an important excerpt, and I wanted this to be on the Pet Groomer CD package that we're putting out. That's the free Pet Groomer CD-ROM of career information and tools, even for today's groomers, of a very important factor, financial factor, in your career as a groomer that can make a tremendous amount of profitability difference. In fact, just this factor alone, I've had in the 90s a series of events where I was on the road giving lectures, and I would focus more on the business side. I'm not going to teach how to groom. We have enough of those out there, but where there's kind of a void is the business side. And it's always a challenge to keep groomers interested in the business side all day. But if I can also get them to spend 7 hours with me and to save themselves $25,000 a year in their business, the ones that have employees, minimum, often we save more than that, I think that's a very worthy 7 hours to, invest in your future. That's a lot of money. And I'm going to talk about one of the key ones today, because here on the Pet Groomer CD, we do have groomers that will come out of schools and go right into owning a business and eventually perhaps hire employees. So you got to get to them early, it seems, in this industry with some key simple thoughts, just one piece of advice that can change an entire career. And one of those is the biggest mistake commonly made by grooming business employers. Even if they're not going to be an employer for 5 years, groomers should know one thing that we've learned from the numbers. It makes no difference to the quality, the safety, the humaneness of the grooming environment, whether you go route A, B, C, whatever. This mistake is a financial mistake, but by making recommendations, none of the quality, safety, aesthetics, the beauty is even slightly affected. It's so simple, but why don't more groomers know it? Because if you don't know how to work the numbers of grooming, and most groomers really don't, they know to do some basics, but to study different setups, staff this way, staff that way, staff this way, and you study all the numbers, which I was sort of thrust into after we wrote the book From Problems to Profits and became consultants, and I went hands-on with just about every variation of grooming setups and putting them all together as a consultant, and started to see just reorganizing a business just to be staffed this way, not cutting at anyone's pay. It had nothing to do with cutting people's pay to make money. I don't even like going that route. That's a lazy person's route. Let's study the numbers, and I have that ability to do that, and I try to make it as easy as possible for everyone to pick this up. And I think I've come up with a real easy one. But right off the bat, even if you're going to come out of school and go work for someone for 5 years, odds are you're probably going to work in a setup that is still not the most efficient, yet it's working. It's not, they're not going out of business or anything. But what if we could prime it from the beginning, this operation, to work efficiently with the same quality of work, yet the owner finds a bit more profit in their pocket, but not at even the slightest expense on the part of the employees. So the biggest financial mistake commonly made by grooming business owners is simply this. You're a one-person business. You've gotten to the point, maybe you can do 7, 8 a day by yourself, the quality that you want. That's commonly accepted as possible. Yes, I know some groomers do more. We're not going to get into judging this, and some only want to do 4 or 5, but I'm saying let's just look at it. You're going to spend an hour a day with each pet. You're going to work 8 hours, and okay, the number doesn't matter where the cutoff is. You're happy doing 7 a day on average? Okay, that's what you're telling me is I'm not going to do any more than that. I'm doing those pets from start to finish. Start to finish means everything. There are no other employees, no bathers, no other stylists, whatever. You're a one-person business. You're doing start to finish 7 a day. This will work. This isn't really well, there are certain mobiles that can groom more than 2 pets at a time and whatever, but we're talking in a shop, a home grooming business, or a salon where there can be staff. You're going to grow a business. You've decided to do that. I'm willing to get employees. I don't have that hang up, and I don't have a distaste even, some people may even put it, to have other groomers around. It's whatever your preferences are. That's no problem. It's not a right or a wrong thing. But you've decided, okay, I'm going to hire someone. I want to grow because I want to see my bottom line get a little bit bigger by hiring staff. Isn't that what a lot of businesses do out there today? Absolutely. So, what do? You hire someone else. Do you know that 99% of the time, that might be a slight exaggeration, 97% of the time, what does the one-person business do that's hiring somebody? They hire another full-charge groomer. Full charge means a groomer that is capable of start to finish by themselves. They go and hire another person like that. And after the years of doing this as a seminar on staffing, which takes a full day easily, the biggest mistake is to hire another full charge groomer as your first hire when you're growing your business. In fact, it's drastically the worst mistake ever. Now, if you're still you have a chance to hire this wonderful groomer and you're going to learn a lot from them, we're not going into those little other reasons to do this. We're focused on the finance side of this. So let's look at the numbers and cents behind this decision. That's what we're doing today. We've got our business cap on today. If you have a pencil and paper, you might want to write down a couple numbers here. Let's just say your goal with this other person that you're going to hire is to generate about $400 a day new sales from the work performed by that person. Let's say you're calling it a full charge groomer, a pet groomer, not a bather, not an assistant, another capable pet groomer. And they might do 7 or 8 pets, and we'll use a nice easy number to work with, generating about $400 a day on the register. The amount here, by the way, does not matter. I'm using a simple number. $400 for 7, 8 groomings, perhaps, by that new hire. Okay, let's work with commissions. That person who has that skill to do that many probably is going to want at least 55%. Some will want 60. We'll go with the lower to prove that that you don't have to underpay this person to get more better looking financials out of it. No, let's just go with 55%, not 50, not 40, not 30. 55%. Everyone can accept that's realistic. That means if that person does perform $400 on the register that day, the gross wage for that individual is going to be $220. That's 55% times $400 is $220. That's their paycheck figure for that day. Think of it that way. So if we deduct $220 from $400, we're left with $180. But you know we're not done yet. And this doesn't make a factor in the mistake, but because in all fairness, we're going to have to pay employer taxes on this person. In this case, we just use the rule of thumb of 30% to cover workers' comp, employer contributions, perhaps unemployment insurance, whatever employers are. Some state good rule of thumb with accountants is 30% times the gross wage. Okay? So 30% times $220 is $66, correct? Yes. So we took $400 and took out the gross wage of $220, came up with $180 left over. We had to take 30% times the $220, correct? Yes. And we have to deduct that from the $180. Okay? So that left us with $114 out of the $400 that was rung up on the register. Now, of course, that hasn't included other overhead. We are not going that far because, again, the overhead expenses for the supplies, the sharpening, the utilities has nothing to do with the hiring selection. The key here is what position should I be hiring? Here, it's a 55% groomer. So we have $114 left. Now, my suggestion is going to be the first hire makes only 1 cent to me, beyond even the numbers, though. But first, we'll stay with the numbers. Let's say we go out and hire a bather, a really good bather. And there are professional bathers. There's schools that even teach professional bather programs. And in fact, my mother, Madeline Ogle, and I wrote a course for some schools at one time for a professional bather course. Okay? So, and just so you know, we got so advanced with bathers, they almost became assistant groomers, but our bathers could do poodle feet. Our advanced bathers could do poodle faces. They could do, do not only the bunning and the bowing, but they knew how to just do those touch-up things that went along with bath. It didn't have to go to a groomer. So, we really amplified where we're going with this beyond, but I'm going to give you the basics today. We're just going to get a great bather in there. We're going to pay them at least $12 an hour, which in some places is a good wage. In some places, that's still a great wage. In fact, there are full-charge groomers in America today making $12 an hour. I'm going to give that to a bather. I'm probably going to get the best bathers in town, too, because I'm paying the best rate there. Okay. So that bather, is going to work 8 hours just as the 55% groomer we talked about earlier. Okay? That bather can do bath-only dogs. If you will learn how to market the bath-only market, and we did that really well, we had more bath-only dogs in than full trim styling dogs in many days, even though both were, remember, we were doing 60 to 100 pets a day at 1.7 days a week as the business matured. But regardless of that, these bathers at this skill level could easily generate $400 a day on the register as well. They're not going to do like 7 or 8 as that 55% groomer is going to do, because we know probably the average fee for the bath-only dogs is going to be less than the full styling dogs that this 55% groomer was doing, right? Well, a great bather today can do, we did 12 when there were only stand dryers and no HV. I go way back into what seems prehistoric today. We had, Jurassic strand dryers, and that was about it. And what was an HV? I mean, it was anything but something to do with grooming, pets. So I have many owners that tell me, oh no, on average I expect 14 to 16 in 8 hours out of one of my professional skill level bathers. The point is, the 55% groomer was generating 400 in sales. A highly skilled pet bather can generate $400 in bath-only pets. They'll just do more numerous numbers, but of course they aren't doing the fine styling work. Okay, now let's just look at that. Let's say we paid them $12 an hour. That's $96 for 8 hours. 8 times 12, $96 is their wage. Well, the 55% groomer over here was doing $220 on their paycheck for the gross wages alone. So already you can see we're getting some savings here, right? So we will deduct that from the 400 rang up on the register, and I have $304 left over as the owner of the business versus $180 over here. But yes, I do have to now be fair, and before with the 55% groomer, we had $66 in workers' comp and the 30% rule and employer contributions. So I'm going to add that up, and it would be about, if we take 30% times the 96, about, a factor of that would be $35, something in that area, which again is going to be less than the $66 in contributions for the 55% groomer. So even if that groomer, by the way, at 55 was at 50%, we're still not even close to showing the advantages of the pet bather, who's leaving us with about $270 left over after I pay their wage, and I'm paying a decent wage for a bather. I'm paying all the same employer contributions. In other words, my profit as an owner, I'm making double the profit off of a pet bather that I am making off a 55% groomer. And a 50% groomer, you're still in the same ballpark. You're going to make more than double the gross profit off of a bather than you are another full charge groomer. That is dramatic. And in fact, if we add this up in a year's period, because it's one thing to look at one day in a business, but we're not open just one day in a year. Are we not open Monday through Friday? You're open up 260 days a year. That's 5 days a week times 52 weeks in a year. That's 260 business days that you are open for business. So if I'm making, let's just say it was $150 extra profit by having a bather instead, and I multiply, and I do that every day, I make 150 more, and there's 260 days in a year. Are we getting happy here? Yes, we are getting happy here. That comes, and here he is doing live computations here. That is going to come out to what? $39,000. I hope that has piqued your interest. This is about the point in my seminars when we just look at numbers, and I get a few tears. I'm not kidding. I get tearful pet owners, pet business owners who get up and say, you should listen to this guy. I've been a groomer for 30 years and never learned to work the numbers. Sure, I've lived fine and whatever, but I didn't learn how to staff my business. You don't make more profit for the owner by cutting wages. Please understand that. That's the first criticism. You want to jump on me with my, here I am giving some advice based on 20 years as a consultant. And the first simple-minded criticisms that come to me is, oh, you're cutting wages. I'm not cutting wages at all. I thought I just paid 55% commission over here. Who can argue that that's not a good commission? I just said I'm going to pay $12 an hour to a bather. Where is that? Where is this wage cutting? I just increased the profit of the business by $39,000 a year by making a big positive move of not hiring another full-charge groomer as my first hire when I'm growing a business. Shall I review that? The biggest financial mistake ever made is to hire another full-charge, start-to-finish type commission, or even if you pay him an equal salary, but a full-charge pet groomer. You want to grow your bath-only business. And this is where this saying comes in. The gravy in the business is bath-only dogs. People would come into my parents' business and they would see 7 beagles, 3 dachshunds, chihuahuas, pugs, Boston terriers, and they would say, how do you get this many? There's 30, there's 40 of them. Well, that's in our marketing program, and that's all that it is. We didn't live anywhere special. It had nothing to do with that. That was marketing. My mother was excellent at marketing. Marketing had to do with that, and the client relations that goes with it. But the financial savings was we didn't give all these bath-only pets to 55% groomers. We hired and paid that. We may have paid by salary, but our salary was based on 50, 55, and 60% commissions. So you can't, those that want to come after me again, whatever, as a consultant, bring it on, because I'll show you the numbers. You're reacting emotionally. I have nothing against commission on the basis of that it's expensive. That is never what we have ever said. We have said it builds empires within a business. It doesn't build teamwork. It doesn't help the employee who never knows how much they're going to make day to day. That's what we've said. It doesn't help us to budget. But who do you assign every grooming to is where you save money. And it does never, another criticism potential, well, it's not going to be done as well. That's just making an uninformed claim to say something like that. It has nothing to do with that. We're talking about professional, whether they're bathers, assistant groomers, all the way up to groomers, and they're all supervised. And in fact, in our business, by the way, we didn't use cage dryers. We had no vendettas on cage dryers. Our system, we just sold to the client that our work was all hands-on. We weren't trying to get another dog done per person, whatever, by leaving it alone with a blower on it of any kind. It was all hands-on. It was all hands-on. And by the way, it was also less expensive than most of the other businesses around. Do you realize that raising fees is not always the other way to make more money? It is for the persons who are one-person businesses. That's kind of the backed in a corner. Yes, you do have that. That's just a reality of it. Work with it. It's okay. You can still prosper in the industry. But if you do go staffed, you'd be amazed if I just showed you over here how this business was going to make more than double the profit, not $114 a day. We're talking that this business is going to make $250 a day, $39,000 a year. Well, you know what? I might just raise that bather to $15 an hour and get myself the best bathers on the West Coast or the East Coast, wherever I'm at. I might go to $17 an hour. I'm still going to be making far more profit by building my bath-only business and hiring that extra groomer when the demand truly gets there for it. Okay? Now we're going to take this into courses with the grooming business in a box when it comes to mastering groomer compensation. That is still a few months away at this point in mid-2010 because I got to do it right, got to make it simple, got to make it interesting, keep everyone's attention. So be it. It's about half done at this point. Okay? But look what importance you're working this hard, this many hours a day. We're not talking for you as an owner to work any more hours. You're not even under the pressure to raise prices as much. Maybe you want to buy the best product now because we've just shown you how to make double the profit off of an employee. I mean, that's pretty fantastic, the potential here. You got your trips to trade shows, whatever, out of $39,000, and we're only talking one employee, and you, two-person operation is saving $39,000 more a year. The numbers are there. This is what is not commonly taught. We're going to do it. That's our niche. I like to do this, and I've taught it for years, and I'm telling you, some of you may have even been that some may have heard this. I've had tearful people stand up and give testimonials to this because it hits home. They wish they had learned, but whatever, 20 years ago. Think how much 20 years times $30,000, $40,000 a year, and we're only talking about one employee. What would it have been with several more employees? This is the value of putting a little bit extra time to listen to those people who know how to work the numbers and make it simple, and taking a little bit of time to learn how to work the numbers of your system. So I will repeat again that the biggest financial mistake you'll ever make as a one-person owner is your first hire should be a full-charge pet bather, a professional pet bather, a highly skilled, productive pet bather, and equip them well. And in fact, in our design module, we're going to teach how to do counter drying. Talk about efficiency and speeding up the bathing process. I'm telling you, you're just going to have to see what we do with counter drying. Another adds to the productivity that would boom up that 39, perhaps another $2,000 or $3,000 a year just by the virtue of using counter drying techniques, which, by the way, is very safe for the pets, safer than grooming tables. We're talking about something that cannot tip over in any way, shape, or form. So that's another little sidelight that we'll get into as we take this further. This is just an intro. This is just a fireside chat that we're looking at this. And if I can just put one thought into you, especially for those of you entering our industry, is to recognize that many of the groomers out there don't know how to work their numbers. They can tell you what they made in a year. That's about it. But they can't tell you why this is better and whatever, and come up with all these excuses. Sometimes just putting down this bit of knowledge that I gave you here, you got to see through all that. If anyone tells you that they have a better way, ask them, can you show me the figures? Can you back that up? Can you show me the figures? I'd love to hear about that. Please show me. I really enjoy it. Let's do it. You know, that's why I love the numbers part of it at times, because numbers done honestly, realistically, they don't have a personality. They don't lie. They just tell where it's at, and then you see how humans can take everything and promote this and promote that and whatever, and it's going to do this without numbers to back it all up and how it works. So here was a simple example today. It's impossible to argue with this. It's been done. I've got 1,000 clients that are doing this, at least out there today. A couple of the keys that go along with that I want you to think about early is that you've got to learn in your marketing. If you're not careful, your marketing may only market full charge grooming type dogs. Remember the other saying. So we have the saying about the biggest mistake, that's hiring another full charge groomer. The other one over here The gravy in the pet grooming business from a financial standpoint is in the bath-only dogs. And bath-only is not self-service. I'm talking bath-only, and we're doing them all hands-on, no cage dryers even going on here. Full hands-on. Can't argue with that kind of quality. Best product and the highest wages, and we're still making record profit, and we can charge less than our competitors. The numbers allow us to do that. So keep that in mind if you're going to do a business now, if you want to change your business now, or you're going to be an employer 3 years down the line, stop, think. And by the way, if you have Pet Grooming Business Plan Helper, we made this in the best business plan ever written for a one-person business growing into a business, following humane, aesthetic standards of grooming, no cage drying, all hands-on. And this person hires in the precise order that we state here. Yes, they hire a pet bather. They may hire even more pet bathers if they're successful with marketing more bath-only business. And then eventually they hire an assistant groomer, and then eventually is hired another full-charge groomer. That there is a time that you do add. We had up to 3 at a time, but we also had assistants. But we may have had 12 pet bathers. That's a lot of gravy. If you want to know, my mom knew how to have a lot of gravy. She said, I'm sending my kids to college, which is expensive, but I'm a groomer, and groomers can send their kids even to college. I mean, that was just the motivation for my mother. I can still have the best car out there. I can be a groomer and qualify for a home in California, which is notoriously expensive. You know, it's just that personal drive. But even if you want to stay tiny, don't look to always be cutting back here, and we've got to always raise prices. Look to the efficiency of how you staffed your business. We're the experts on that. GroomingBusinessInABox.com has it. Go to Pet Grooming Business Plan Helper if you have one of those. The business plan inside there, one of the 7 samples of real business plans that have been funded, is called the Mary Groomer. And that's how she did it. She spent her first year all by herself, one person, getting up to where she had 7, 8 a day. She was fully booked, and she said, it's time to hire. She hired herself a pet bather and went from there following this. Now, when we get to the module from Grooming Business in a Box called Mastering Pet Groomer Compensation, we're going to take this even further and step by step with you through the numbers and show you even more closely. I think you're going to love what you see. You have no idea what's coming. It's really fun and easy and multimedia and fun to learn this. But you'll see it how it goes even further. There are businesses that have the same amount of clients, have the same amount of profit, or do they? No, they don't. But they have the same amount of clients, the same prices, and they do the same amount of dogs. No, the bottom line, the same rent, the same utilities. But you know what? What do we already know? The biggest factor is the payroll. If we can cut the payroll, but offer the best wages in town, see? We didn't go back to that thing of Steve's cutting wages. No, I'm offering the best wages in town to pet bathers, and I'm paying at least equivalent of 55% to the commission. So we didn't go back there. And that's impossible. No, it's quite possible. I gave you a few numbers here today to work with, and we're going to take that dramatically further. For now, start remembering that statement. The biggest mistake commonly made in the finance of grooming businesses is your first hire is another full-charge groomer. It's debilitating. As you saw here, about $30,000 to $40,000 a year is the average when we take a business that has done that. And I say, now let's rework it. Had you done this and see the change? The numbers prove that statement. The choice is yours. It's not right or wrong. But if we're in business to make money and I can do the equivalent quality, safety, humane,